So we're back with part 2 of my favourite aspect of every Smite Gods kit. Of course, if you haven't seen part 1, then you definitely should. I explain more about what this video is meant to be in that first part, and also cover Achilles to Giannis. But without further ado, let's finish this off with the last half of the Smite Gods, Jing to Zhong. Jing is definitely her knock-up pseudo-counter with her dash. It's really cool that one of the best CCs in the game is pretty much a benefit for her. No other god really has access to that. Besides Yom, who actually, once again, I like his knock-up counter this time, being his passive. I think it's really thematic and displays how truly massive the World Serpent is, while also having a significant drawback for such a powerful passive. Kali. Staying on the passive train, Kali's passive is literally the best in the entire game. It works so well with her run-in and shred people playstyle, and I think most people who play Kali will agree this is a big reason why you play her. Khepri. Of course it's his ultimate. Rezzing teammates is pretty much limited to just this god, and you're damn right it's my favourite part of playing Khepri. Those clutch rezzes can win teamfights or whole games on their own. The only downside is potentially missing it and getting BM'd to shit by your entire team. King Arthur. So as for Arthur, I think it's just the way his abilities combo with each other and flow together. For me, it's just really satisfying to use all of his abilities in chains, and they just feel really good. Kukulkan. So the Noodle has a lot of flashy and interesting things he can do, but for me, I think it's the least flashy part of his kit that I like the most, that being his passive. The extra damage you can get over other mages is just really nice. Who doesn't love having Book of Thoth for free as a passive? Khumba. So for Khumba, I really like his mez, ult, and passive. I think all of them are pretty much equally great, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably choose his ultimate simply for the insane setup it can provide for the rest of your team. Kusanoo. It's the washing machine, what else would it be? Loki. Am I allowed to say I like something about Loki? Well, I will say I do like his crazy AA cancels he can get sometimes. Medusa, definitely the Snex ultimate. It's a unique mechanic which you should know by now I like, and in general it's just really fun and quite a skill testing ability, plus it works better against console plebs, am I right boys? Mercury. So Merc's ultimate, but specifically spacing it just perfectly to land right behind your target is just amazing. If you space it too far, you miss out on damage. If you space it too near, you miss it entirely. Hitting that sweet spot is so satisfying when playing Mercury. Merlin. So Merlin is more frustrating than fun for me, but I guess having a triple stance switching god is pretty unique, and all of his stances are definitely distinct from each other, so I quite like that about him. Nadja. So for this guy, yes, he is a guy, please stop. I'm going to go for the ring toss. Despite it being nerfed, it's still insane to bounce it between two people in the early to mid game and just half health both people. Neith. So for Neith, I find most of her kit pretty bland, but her ult is definitely very different from most other hunter ultimates that are quite focused on 1v1 fighting. This one works really well as a team fight or pick-off tool and actually takes a lot of skill and effective communication to pull off correctly. Nemesis. The shield. Definitely the shield. Not only is it a really cool and skill testing ability on its own, but it also gives that insanely quick AA cancel that I just love to use. Definitely one of the fastest AA cancels in the entire game. Nike. So even post rework, I still don't like Nike's design, but that's more just personal taste than anything. But if I had to choose something, it would still be her passive. I find it neat how it's almost like going on a quest with your team during the game to get some objective done and get a reward. That's pretty cool. Nox. So dive bombing people with Nox is one of my favourite things to do in the entire game, so this one has to go to that. Be it with Thor, Thanatos, Athena, or anyone else really, using your teammate as a private plane to drop you off at your intended location is fun as hell. Nuwa. So one of the few things transferred over from Old War to New War is actually my favourite aspect of her, that being of course her clay soldiers. Maybe it's because I'm still salty that they reworked one of my favourite gods back in the day into a boring generic god, but I do really like these guys. Odin. So he's getting a rework soon after this video will go live, which makes the timing of this video a little awkward, so I'm going to be making a big assumption here and assume that his new 3 is going to be cool. Charging up the ability to get a different effect for the situation seems really interesting to me, and finding something I like in Odin's current, or old kit depending on when you watch this video, is difficult for me, so I'm going to go with that. Olaron. For sure, it's his ultimate. It's so powerful yet so underrated, and honestly there's nothing else like it in the game. A close runner-up would be his 2 though, since I really think it's cool how it sort of works in 2 parts with the attack speed and then the damaging part of the ability. Osiris. This is a simple one. I like how spammable his 1 is, both for his passive and just for general boxing in solo lane. Pele. So Pele's passive, despite many significant nerfs, is still super fun to use and skill testing to play around. If you're good at her and know your passive well, you can turn losing fights into an easy kill with this, which I think is really good design since it rewards you for learning the gods in and outs. Persephone. Another god I just hate to be honest, but I guess her plants are pretty cool, even if they do way too much damage and are annoying as fuck to deal with. Poseidon. To be honest, I might be a basic bitch for this answer, but I really just like whirlpool krakening people. Something about it is just fun. Ra. In a similar vein, Ra snipes are awesome. If you disagree with this, you should uninstall Smite. Raijin. So keeping with mage ultimates, I really enjoy using Raijin's ult simply because of the modular nature and unique uses for it. Being able to taunt people in to set up other stuff from your team, fear them away if you need to run, or just burst them down with high damage, especially if you had set up from your team, is just a fun ability to use. Rama. Okay, I promise this isn't just a pick the god's ultimate list, but I had to choose Rama snipes as the best part of his kit. Okay, moving on. Ratatoskr. It's not his ultimate, are you guys proud of me? I actually really like Rat's Acorn. Even though I'm salty that they didn't keep the 4 Acorn varieties after the rework, it's still a cool mechanic that I really like, and it makes him an absolute monster in the early game. Raven. So I didn't say Changa's 2 was my favourite in the previous video, but I think Raven's 2 is definitely my pick here. Scylla. Duh, it's her ultimate. If you disagree with this one, I will throw you into the pits of eternal hellfire, aka Bronze Duel. Serket. Definitely her passive. It rewards using her abilities in certain ways to get the most benefit out of them instead of just spamming them, and full comboing someone for that extra 20% of their health and damage is just so fun to play with, even if it does make Serket tanks slightly too viable. Set. Honestly, I just love Set's playstyle of jumping in, ulting, and just running at people before blowing them up with like 7 hits of skewer. It's just a fun way to play that really exemplifies an assassin to me. Skadi. So I hate Skadi, most of you will know this, but if I had to pick one thing, it's probably her ice giving her the movement speed buff. I know it's not that exciting, but I hate literally the entire rest of her kit, so this is the best you're gonna get from me. Sobek. Did someone say charge prey? Yeah, it's probably no surprise to anyone that Sobek's pluck is my favourite part of his kit. When used right, it's pretty much instant death if the enemy doesn't have bees due to the insane distance this ability can cover. Sol. So I love most of Sol's kit besides her ultimate, but definitely the coolest part overall for me is her passive. There's not much else like it in the game really. I guess it's kind of comparable to Apollo's passive or other steroids, but really it's quite unique in what it does, and of course it's extremely powerful. Definitely top 5 for passives in the entire game. Sun Wukong. So for me, with Wukong, I just really like the ease of which his cudgel can be spammed at people to poke. It has a pretty low cooldown and it's nigh on unmissable if you're anywhere decent at the game because you can move the targeter while you cast it. It's just a feels good man type of ability. Susanoo. So this is a god I both love and loathe, but one thing I think most people can respect in Susanoo's kit is his potential for AA cancelling. Between the 1 and the 3, he already has some sick AA cancels, and you can even do it on the 2 and the ultimate as well. Being the type of player that likes to min-max and do everything I can to squeeze out those last drops of damage from my god, this one is really fun for me. Sylvanas. So, much like everyone else, I love Sylvanas' pull. Sniping enemies with this is arguably even more fun than the likes of Ra snipes, especially support mains can probably relate to this one. Despite doing no damage, this is one of the most satisfying abilities to hit in the game. Terra. So this one is either her ultimate if you want to be basic, or the janky shit you can do with her walls blocking minions at the start of the game if you want to be fancy. Considering the wall blocking strat is sort of no longer really viable, I will go with her ultimate simply based on the sheer power it can bring to a teamfight. Thanatos. Death Scythe hits way too hard and is way too fun. The Morrigan. What else is it really going to be? It's falling through the floor or adding an extra player to the scoreboard whenever you do anything with this character, of course. Nah, for real though, her ultimate is the best part of her kit, even if it's the source of more bugs than the rest of the gods in the game combined. Thor. Double tap.
Gaming.
Thoth. Tyr. Even after all these years, the Assault Stance Fearless combo is still one of the most satisfying things to land. Whoever designed Tyr, my hat is off to you. Ula. Speaking of satisfying combos to land, Ula's entire being hinges on hitting that axe into bow stance 1 and 3 combo, and boy does it feel good to land the whole thing, especially with some auto attacks weaved in there for good measure. For mana, giant raging beatbox baby. Need I say more? Vulcan. So Vulcan is a god for which I just like all of his abilities. None are really exceptional or stand out, but I feel all are just great to use and are impactful, so I'm going to go with that. He's a well-designed and balanced god, and I like that about him. Xbalanque. So despite the questionable change to his ultimate that I didn't really like, I still think the ult is my favourite part of his kit. That huge blind in teamfights is deceptively impactful, and no one is going to complain about extra auto-attack range either. Ching Chen. So I would say the washing machine for the memes, but honestly I really like that Ching Chen is the only god in the game that flat reduces enemy basic attack damage. Plenty can reduce attack speed or disarm, but no other god that I know of can reduce their attack damage flat out, and I like that uniqueness about him. Yamoja. I really like that Yamoja is a healer / true support character. A lot of, quote, supports in this game are just tanky CC bots, and she seems to break the mold in that way. I hope we see more guardians or even mages like her in the future. Ymir. Much like Athena's Confound from part 1, Ymir Wall is really just his iconic ability, and seeing top level Ymir players use this ability to its full potential is just a joy to watch. Zeus. Zeus's all-in protect me or lose playstyle is actually something I quite like because it's done well. With the correct support, Zeus can annihilate teams, but also has very obvious weaknesses that can be easily exploited if not kept in check. Zhong. And the final god as of this video, of course, for Zhong, I feel like it sort of has to go to his ultimate. You pretty much become a walking tank when you activate this ability. And I mean treads and steel tanks, not a tank in terms of Smite terms. It literally turns you into an APC taking on infantry for the duration of this ultimate, and it's definitely my favourite part of Zhong's kit. And we're finally done. After 2 videos, I've covered every god in Smite and what I love most about them. If you stayed to the end, you probably enjoyed it, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future videos just like this one. But anyway, that's it from me. Catch you guys in another one later on. Peace.